All right, so we are now essentially at the end of writing our research paper. We've done the most difficult part. We have a works cited page. We have body paragraphs that are sandwiches that have pieces of research in them, along with our parenthetical citations. We've already written our theses. So we're ready to finish this paper. And so what we need to do is we need to come up with an introduction and a conclusion. So the purpose of this video is to go over what's in an effective introduction, as well as to go over what's in an effective conclusion. I apologize for my nasal situation, so we're going to try to get this done as best we can. So the first things first, introductions basically are a 4-step process. And the first step is what is known as an attention-getting device. So you're essentially trying to get the reader's attention either through interesting facts, little-known or lesser-known things about the topic, shocking statistics and the like, or maybe even a quote by that person. So those are some options for getting people's attention when you start the essay. The second step is what is known as a relating step. You basically are trying to get the reader hooked in why they should care about this topic. So you're basically explaining to the reader why they should care about the subject of what you've written about, or to get them interested in reading onward. Step 3 of an effective introduction is a preview step, where basically, because you've already written your essay, like the meat and potatoes of it, the body paragraphs, you already know what you're going to say in your essay. So you're going to be able to preview the overall points of what your paper is about in the order that it occurs in your body paragraphs, ideally. And then last but not least, your thesis should be the last sentence of the paragraph. So we actually had a formula that we were following for the thesis that was basically the person you are researching is important because, and then you finish the sentence. So what I've provided for you today then is an actual introduction paragraph from a research paper that I had written. And so what I wanted to do is to show you how it's done when somebody who knows what they're doing actually does it. So the emission of greenhouse gases is considered one of the greatest threats to human life. Climate change as a result of greenhouse gases is already creating havoc in biomes and weather worldwide, and have already began to affect human behavior, commerce, and the ability to produce food. I would say that pretty much this entire 2 sentences right here starts off and gets the audience's attention. Now, there could be a little bit of crossover between these things as well. So then, secondly, the relating step. Understanding greenhouse gases and their role in climate change is extremely important given lifestyle choices, political choices, and social policies which will affect everyone globally. So this right here is the relating step. Why should anybody care about the emission of greenhouse gases? Which then brings us to the next part, which is the preview step. So I'm going to read it out loud. This essay will examine what greenhouse gases are, how they chemically interact with the environment, their impacts on the atmosphere and environment, the consequences if humans do not begin to take action in curbing greenhouse gas emissions. So in this particular case, this lays out what's coming in the essay. This is the preview step. And then here's the main argument of the paper itself. Greenhouse gases are having a major impact on the Earth and present serious challenges to the future of all life on Earth. And that is an argumentative statement, and it is the thesis for this particular paper. Now, the body paragraphs that would have followed this would have laid out everything that was said in the preview step, everything about the impacts on the atmosphere and environment, and the consequences if things don't change. But basically, when you're looking at an introduction, you need an attention-getting device, relating step, preview step, and thesis. Which then brings us to the conclusions. Writing an effective conclusion basically is an inversion of the first thing, except for instead of doing 4 steps, you're only going to do 3. And in particular, the 3 steps are restatement of the thesis. You basically take the thesis and you invert its order. So I even provided a formula for you to follow that'll make your life easier. The second thing is to recap the main points of the essay. You already know what you said. This is basically the preview step, but now you're doing it at the end of the essay. You know, this essay analyzed this. And then the last thing is a closing statement or a call to action. Basically, at the end, you're asking the reader to learn or do something new as a result of having learned about the person you researched. consider what they did that was important and how it applies today when you kind of come up with your call to action. So once again, following the same model, this is a conclusion for the very same essay that I provided the introduction for. The future of life on Earth is dependent on the action steps taken to curb the emission of greenhouse gases. That is the thesis, just in the opposite order as it was above. Similarly, then, the composition of greenhouse gases, how the gases interact with the environment, etc., that whole sentence right there is the same thing as the preview step, but now we're recapping what they have already learned in the essay by having read it. And then the last section of this is then what is known as the closing statement or the call to action. Even so, more research and more technology are needed in order to combat the deleterious effects of greenhouse gases. What a great word, deleterious. It means like really bad. Therefore, as global citizens, it is imperative to support social policies, political candidates, and other entities who are dedicated to improving and helping the issue of greenhouse gases. That's a call to action if I've ever heard one. So that is essentially like how you write an introduction and a conclusion. The introduction is a 4-step process that starts with attention getting, relating step, preview step, thesis. The conclusion is the opposite of that, where you start with the restatement of the thesis, you recap the main points, and then you come to some sort of closing statement or call to action at the end. And that is how you make effective introductions and conclusions.